Conflict resolution stages is a process that can allow you to get through a conflict in an interpersonal relationship in an effective and well thought out and educated manner. Sometimes emotions are so high that that is not a complete possibility, but in other cases, you have the option to follow this path. Now, these stages are very similar to what would occur within decision-making process, but have their own unique components. First, step one, define the conflict. What is the issue? Is it a content level issue or is it deeper and more based on the relationship? And try not to gunny sack. Traditionally, the word gunny sack came from a tribe of nomads who would fill their sacks with all the stuff that they owned, throw it over their packs or their backs, and walk around to the next place that they're going to be at, and then dump it all out. Well, that is kind of figurative for gunny sacking within a relationship. You pack in your emotions, you hold on to all your grievances, and then you dump it out at one point in time. So try to stay in the present. Don't gunny sack. If you can, attempt to empathize. Don't mind read. Don't expect to know exactly what they're going to say and how they're going to say it, or even exactly how they feel. But empathize with them. Try to connect with them. Ask questions, paraphrase, and avoid belt lining. And this literally means avoid hitting below the belt. Try not to use degrading terms, argumentativeness to an extreme, or incredibly, as much as argumentativeness can become a problem, try not to be verbally aggressive. But define the conflict. It can be quite difficult. Now, let me use this silly example here. There are two sisters, and each are fighting over an orange. They fight and fight. Both want the orange, but only one is willing to give up, or one wants. So they fight about this orange, and finally one of the sisters says, "Fine, you have the orange, take it." And in that situation, the sister that got the orange is happy, and the sister that did not get the orange is upset. Had they actually listened to step one and thought to themselves, okay, what is the real issue here? What do I want in this situation? Then they might have discovered that Sister A only wanted the juice from the orange to make orange juice, and Sister B only wanted the zest from the peel when she was baking a cake. So had they actually defined the conflict, instead of focusing on what they wanted, try to focus on all the details, try to fully understand what the problem was, what the conflict was, then they would be able to actually progress through the conflict much more easily. I know it's a silly example, but it does fit. Now, step one is to define the conflict. Step two is to examine possible solutions. Brainstorm ideas. Again, come up with as many solutions as you can discover. Don't censor your partner. Let them join in, even if you don't end up taking their solution. Please allow them to present those solutions. That way they can participate. If you can, look for a win-win. Try to define the conflict well enough that you are able to see if you can find that win-win. Look at the costs and rewards. The idea of social exchange theory can kind of apply to conflict resolutions if you think about it. Look at the solution as something to assess via social exchange. What are the costs? What are the benefits? Are there any alternatives? What is right in general? That sort of thing. So examine all of your solutions, then test the solution. Mentally walk through it first. Okay, what will happen if we do this thing? And this is when the conflict is serious. If we take a break from our relationship, how would that span out? If we were to quit our job, how would that feel? What would happen? Put all of it out mentally. And then, if you're still willing, put it into practice. Actually test the solution. Once you've finished that, evaluate whether it worked or not. Ask yourself, okay, did this solution work perfectly? Or did it struggle and there's parts of it that didn't work, but parts of it that did? Or did it just completely fail? It might be that you were attempting to manage the solution and put it into play at the wrong time of day. So it sort of worked because you still think the solution would work, but it was maybe not the right time to deliver the solution. Maybe it didn't work at all because of the way you said it. Your emotions got overwhelmingly in the way. Whatever it is, evaluate whether or not the solution worked and to what degree. A little bit, a lot, medium, between half and half, working and not working, and the like. And then finally, you need to decide whether you're going to accept or reject the solution. If you accept the solution, you can get out of the conflict and move right along. If you reject it, if it didn't work all the way or it didn't work at all and you need to completely reject it, then you need to go back to the previous steps. Consider whether you defined the problem right or not. Did you actually define it correctly? Did you figure out why you wanted the orange, if you're using that example? If you didn't, maybe you need to talk about it more and try to figure out exactly what it is you want. You may not even know what you want. You may be angry or upset and not even know really why. You think it's one thing, but in reality, it's something completely different. Imagine all the conflicts you've had. Listen to your partner. What is it that they're talking about? What is it that they're angry about or sad about or whatever it might be? What are they consistently bringing up? What are their arguments? That will allow you to truly define the conflict. But maybe you did do that. Maybe you defined it right. Maybe you just need to come up with a different solution because the ones you came up with before weren't creative enough. They didn't work well. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe the solution's great. You just tested it at the wrong time. Maybe you should have done it on the weekend and not on a weekday. Or maybe the person just had a really bad day and you should have waited a little bit to examine that solution or to test it. Or maybe you are still emotional and you just need to rethink it. And it maybe did work. You just needed some time to gather your perspective as well as your partner and sort of recoup. So whatever you do, if you have to reject the solution, you're going to have to move back a stage or two. So keep that in mind. So hopefully you can sort of see how conflict resolution stages, if done with conscious effort, can actually lead you through a conflict more quickly. It sounds like an arduous task, like it'll take you a long time. But in reality, in the end, it could benefit you more and move more quickly than it would have otherwise done.